October 21st, and this is end of the day, end of the week SPY recap. And you can see here on the daily chart, we end up with a outside bar back to the upside today. Yesterday was an outside bar to the downside, took out the high, then the low. Today we took out the low of the previous day, and then eventually the high of the previous day. And that was also something you would have known about using the 50% rule. Essentially, I talked about how one of the possibilities today, even though I was thinking we could be, after this failure to the upside yesterday, we could be continuing lower into a gap that's down here. One of the possibilities was we still have the big broadening action to the upside that started here on this big reversal bar last week. And this could be a situation where this was just a day where Monday and essentially Friday kind of made up the entire weekly green bar that you now see. It is a 2-up weekly bar. We haven't quite reached our next target, but with a big green close this week, we're expecting a little higher into next week. And if you're going to get above the high here of this week, then it looks like you should hit the high there. That was the original target. We were trying to get there, but we just ran out of time today. So it was also a scenario where I was discussing early on that these three bars, and even though it's a lot of choppiness, kind of just looked like a brief little pullback in that bigger picture broadening scenario. And if you look at the way price developed today, I mentioned how it was kind of moving up towards the open, towards the upper end of the pre-market range near the open. And we have kind of a bar that tried to go down for a second, but you had a nice green bar to start, and then the follow-through bar number 2 above the first bar, which was above the pre-market high. So you could have aggressively played that breakout. I agree that at this point it wasn't really above the midpoint of the prior day, but it was still something you could have tried to see what kind of follow-through you got and how to stop here at the midpoint of this bar. But if you didn't, let's say you didn't play this aggressively, this first buy, in my, the way my methodology works, I look for that first move up, and that first move up, if you missed it, actually got you above the midpoint of the prior day. So this became just like yesterday, a failure day with a projection to the top of the opposite range. So in other words, we moved below the low of yesterday, moved to the midpoint of the prior day. There's your 50% rule to target the high of the previous day. And we had that yesterday where we kind of started above the high, moved to the midpoint of the prior day, and then we targeted the low. So a lot of two broadening actions, one down, one up, but that's what today was all about. So once you saw that move, then you can patiently wait for that orderly pullback I always talk about right here. Comfortable orderly pullback to the midpoint of this move. Then you get the green bar, you buy that, targeting that high. And as it turns out, targeting, where is it, the high of yesterday, which is kind of up here. So you could have bought down here very comfortably, expecting price to take out the intraday high and the high of yesterday, and then you watch it at that point if you want to even see if it follows through even further, and which it obviously did, and we closed very strong today. So the scenario now still stays as always kind of anticipated in the bigger picture. Big broadening action to the downside. Now you see more, if you're in today buying, I think you can feel comfortable kind of holding that you'll take out this high of this week, and then those highs of the almost 3 weeks ago now, and maybe even broaden a little higher. That's, again, you just kind of go what's unfolding, and price action led the way here. It was a scenario, to consider, and it was very, the first bar certainly led you to only buying, only no selling. And then once it moved up strongly after the first 3 bars, there were all kinds of triggers too. I know you had the 50% rule of play with targets up here, and this pullback here was just classic to get in again with all kinds of, a first target here and then a second target. So green bar on the weekly chart now, that should follow through higher next week a little bit. We'll always look for failure. If we start a little higher or move to the midpoint of that bar, that could be a reversal on the, let's say we don't reach this target, right here, we move up and then fail and come to the midpoint of the weekly bar. That could be a whole, failure to the upside on a longer term basis. So we'll always keep that in mind. But, we never turn the month, where's that monthly, my green line, which is down here somewhere. Yeah, we never got down here to turn the monthly, bar Here's the green line. We never got down to turn the monthly chart red anytime and all this chop. And so we always kind of knew there was a bit of an up bias going, but it was very choppy. So the monthly bar is still to the upside at the moment. And we'll see, into next week, we expect a little follow through, but we'll see maybe the halfway point of that big red bar might be the area where it stops and reverses. But if so, we'll see some kind of reversal bar. Until then, I do expect these highs to be taken out. I've always been saying that. And now price action, today was really a pretty good confirmation of that after that first 3 bars of the day to the upside. So we will see how it opens next week. And again, kind of choppy trading this week, but there were also some pretty clear signals as well, both for the day time frame and for, now, for the bigger picture time frame. I think this failure down and now a failure up pretty much should follow through to the upside going forward.